So good evening, everyone, and welcome. Welcome. So wonderful to have you all with us. Welcome to our Expedia Cruises Thursday night travel talks. And tonight I'm so excited. Our special guest is Kathy Denroche from Oceania Cruises.
Hi,
Everyone on the call is muted. You do have control if you want your video on. And as I mentioned, it's so nice to see faces. So please, if you feel comfortable, turn your video on. There is a chat feature. So if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will answer them after the presentation. My name is Lisa Antflick. I'm one of the consultants at Expedia Cruises, and our travel talks are hosted by our 6 Expedia Cruises locations in Edmonton area. It's been a long road since March 2020 when the world changed. And if you're on this call, you enjoy traveling. Travel fulfills us. That's why we do it. And if you're like me, you are missing it. At this time, we are all concerned about health and safety. Over the last few weeks, we have seen COVID numbers dropping, restrictions being lifted. People are choosing to travel again, and cruising is one of the safest ways to travel. Cruises are sailing with the highest level of COVID mitigation of any industry. Cruise industry is leading the way with stringent health and safety measures, safety protocols, including testing, vaccination, screening, sanitation, enhanced ventilation, mask wearing, physical distancing, and other proven health measures. In January, I personally went on a cruise, and I can tell you I felt safer on that ship than I do in my local grocery store. The positivity rates on board of ships is less than 1%. And if you're watching the news, you'll know that that is much lower than most cities at this time. There is a difference between traveling and planning for future travel. If you do not feel comfortable traveling at this time, that is perfectly fine. But it is always the best time to plan. And studies have shown that 40% of the pleasure of a trip comes from planning. At Expedia Cruises, we've had many passengers sail recently. They've come back with raving reviews, thrilled to get back on a ship and have the wonderful experience only a cruise can provide. I will admit that travel is a little bit more complex at this time. Now more than ever, you need the professional advice of a travel consultant. And our consultants are here to navigate the new complexities of travel and make sure that your vacation is safe and seamless. I'm always amazed when people tell me they can book their own vacations. And I do think, yes, there are things that I could do on my own. I could do my own taxes. I could cut my own hair, but I'd rather leave those things to the experts. When you book with a travel consultant, you will get our expertise. There are hundreds of different cruise ships and cruise lines, and only a travel agent will be able to find the best cruise for you. You will never pay less booking directly with the cruise line, and many times with travel agents, you'll get a better price. At Expedia, we block group space on hundreds of sailings and can offer you those better prices as well as amenities, such as shipboard credits that you won't get if you book directly with the cruise line. We'll be able to give you information regarding passports, visas, entry requirements, and most of all, COVID protocols that seem to be changing all the time. We can also assist in emergencies, or when problems happen, we are here to help. At Expedia, we're committed to finding the best value of your travel dollars. We are more than just cruises. Our name is Expedia Cruises Air, Land, and Sea Vacation, and we can help you plan all the components of your vacation. Best of all, we are located in your neighborhood so you can shop local. The last 2 years have been challenging, and sometimes what gets me through it and makes me smile is the thought of where do I want to go next. My bucket list has become a to-do list. Time has passed, and like you, I have much to make up for in terms of seeing the world. Whatever your dreams are, Expedia Cruises consultants can help them come true. So I'm going to introduce to you our special guest, Kathy Denroche from Oceania Cruises. And I want to tell you at Expedia Cruises, we sell huge amounts of Oceania to our valued clients, and that our partnership with Expedia is paramount. Travel preferences have changed over the last little while, and what we are seeing is new trends towards passengers leaning to upper premium, small ship cruising, which is exactly what Oceania offers. So please sit back, relax. Let's start exploring the world of Oceania. Welcome, Kathy.
Oh, thank you so much. Can everybody hear me, Lisa? You can hear me? I'm just
Absolutely.
going to share my screen here. And so tell me when you can see. There you go.
We are good.
Okay, perfect. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight, and I really appreciate the time you have. I know it's just past your dinner time here, but I'm going to make you really hungry. We're talking about Oceania. You know, when I listen to Lisa, you know, and all the incredible franchise partners, the offices that you know, are here in your neighborhood, as Lisa said, you know, I've worked with these people for a very long time, and I can tell you that they're absolutely outstanding. They really know how to pair you to the perfect vacation for yourself. Now, Lisa, I'm just going to interrupt for 1 sec because I do have a little thing coming up in the middle of the screen. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to stop sharing for 1 minute, everybody. This kind of happens every so often. Let me just get this for you, and hold on. I'm going to try sharing that again because I just want to make sure. Tell me if you can see this, Lisa. It happened last night as well, and I just want to make sure that it, can you see?
It's not there now.
Oh, no, it is. Isn't that?
Oh, yes, it is.
Hold on 1 more minute, everybody. Sorry, we've got a little glitch here, and that's what happens sometimes. Hold on.
Technology is wonderful.
Yes.
It
Hold
can be
on.
our friend and our enemy.
Okay, let's just see here. Hold on 1 second. Okay, now that should work. There we are. Okay. Let's see. If it stays on, then we'll have to just forget it, but we're going to continue on. Well,
I don't see it now, so I think you're good.
Keep your fingers crossed. You know, everybody, I have to say that, you know, some of the greatest things happen on cruise lines, and the industry. I've been around for a very long time in the industry. I started out over 45 years ago working for the Love Boat, and I have to say I'm based here in Vancouver, BC, and I love cruise ships. I love river ships. I love barge cruises. I love land vacations. I love the travel industry. It's the second largest industry in the world, and it is always going to be an incredibly resilient business. It's the first thing that ever hits a pandemic, but it's the first industry that comes back flying. And we're seeing that in the industry right now. We're seeing a huge flux of travel plans for coming into 22 and 23. And what I've started to tell you before I had to cut my screen was just the fact that, you know, when you're working with a really good travel office, they really know how to pair you to the perfect vacation, whether it is land or by sea. And I want to say that when I have worked with any of the Expedia people, they really are the people that go to every single session, education. You know, they're always furthering their knowledge of the industry and the business and how they can bring it to you. And every time someone at Expedia sells an Oceania cruise, I can promise you they phone me to make sure that that is the best offer and what else can they offer to help close a sale. Well, I have to say that, you know, I've been with Oceania Cruises for 13 years now. And before that, I was over at a little company called Crystal Cruises, and it goes way back. But I've had this incredible adventure in the luxury end of the business over the years. And what I loved about Oceania when they started 20 years ago is they jumped between the big premium lines and the luxury lines. And so they kind of carved this niche called the upper premium cruise market. And we still lead that today. And part of the reason is we decided as a cruise line 20 years ago, we were going to do things very differently than most other cruise lines. And that was we were going to include things on a consistent level more than any other cruise line, but not be all-inclusive because there were guests who wanted to be very independent. We thought that if we did things differently in the fact that we include things that were really important to travelers, that it would really hit a mark. And so I'm going to tell you about Oceania tonight because it's such an amazing little cruise line. And because we started out with small ships, we were a cruise line that said we're going to kind of be based on three principles, three huge pillars that we stand on and we always have stood on ever since. One was the fact that our destinations themselves were some of the most coveted cruise itineraries in the industry. They were immersive, they were inquisitive, they were curious, they were absolutely destination driven. And we went all over the world with, at that stage, 3 little ships. And then when I came over to Oceania 13 years ago, we were building 2 other ships called the Marina and Riviera. And in April of 2023, we have a brand new ship called the Vista coming out. So I'm going to tell you all about that. But we decided that we could do these cruises that were maybe 14, 12, 14 days. But the creative side of Oceania was to be able to build them as a back-to-back-to-back cruise. And we went around the world, all over the world, with these 6 ships that we have now on very small ships. And that was the other side of it that made our itinerary so great, is because these small ships could get into ports the big ships couldn't get into. So those were 2 of our big pillars. The other pillar was that we said, you know, it's kind of having the cruise line for foodie, being the best food at sea isn't necessarily the first reason that anyone ever books with us, but it is certainly the second time that they come to our ship that they book with us. And part of that is because, you know, you might not remember on any vacation you go on the color of your bedspread or your chair in your guest room or whatever it is, but you will always remember on any vacation, I'm sure you'll agree with me, whether the food was good or bad, and it will make or break a vacation of any kind. So we said we wanted to be this cruise line that offered the best cuisine. It doesn't mean the gourmet cuisine. It didn't mean, you know, butter and mascarpone cheese and lobster, which you can have on the ship at any time, anywhere. It meant you had the choice of some of the freshest food and some of the most incredible choices in variety on any ship afloat. And we rival with all of the Michelin style galleys. So Oceania's food is incredible. So these 3 things together kind of made it the base of what we started with at Oceania. And then we decided, because we were small, as people started coming into our cruise line from both the premium and the luxury market based on our itineraries, they said, you know, we kind of want small. As we started to cruise a lot and we've been on many, many ships, we kind of think, well, maybe we want small now. For me personally, when I love the big ships, I love all the cruise lines in the world. When I started, there were only 5 cruise lines and we were very limited as our destinations. But now, over all these 40 something years, there are over kind of 50 cruise lines and 320 ships sailing right now. And whether they're barges or rivers, as I said, or anything, there's so much choice now as a consumer. And one thing that we're noticing as a trend in the entire industry is that people are coming onto the big ships still in droves, because the travel industry is so huge and so pent up. But the biggest trend that we're seeing as an industry is people are coming from big ships to small ships. And not only are they coming to small ships, they're coming for much longer voyages. And so Western Canada produces an enormous amount of business in this cruise segment. And I love this because this is exactly what we're built for at Oceania. And I know that as I kind of entered my mid-60s, I thought, you know, I love the fact that this is small and intimate. It didn't mean it was stuffy or formal or more expensive. It meant that we included more things that were important to people who traveled, but it was intimate and people knew what you had to drink. We did lots of things that were kind of cool. We were the first cruise line to say we're going to get rid of formal wear. We're going to get rid of 2 seatings and a dining room. We're not going to charge for anyone to dine in our dining room. We're going to include, again, things that were important for people: soft drinks and bottled water and lattes and coffees and all that kind of stuff, room service. And we weren't going to charge for things like that, or laundry or internet or fitness, because those are things that became very important to our guests. And they're very curious, well-traveled people. So we came out with these beautiful 4 little tiny ships. These are 30,000 tons. It doesn't mean a whole lot to you if you haven't sailed on us before. But what it means is 3 of these little beautiful ships could fit into big ships that you see sailing in the waters today. And what I love about that is that at the very beginning, Remember, I mentioned to you that with a small ship, you can get into little tuckaway ports that, you know, the big ships just can't get into, and it makes our itineraries that much more beautiful. We hit marquee ports like Dubrovnik and Venice and, you know, Istanbul, but we also hit incredibly beautiful, tiny little boutique ports like in Brunei and Murara, or we come into places like Saint-Tropez, where most ships don't go into, or Cinque Terre now, where they're saying we can't take big ships, we can only take the little ships. And when we come into a place like St. Petersburg, it means that we come straight in and we stock there for 3 full nights. Now, we're not going to do that right now, but in 2023, what we're also noticing as a trend is because of this huge push towards travel, people are really booking much further out than they ever have. So here we have 4 beautiful tiny little ships, and just before the pandemic, we had all of them what we called re-inspired. We took them right down to the studs. They were beautiful European ships at that stage anyway, but we lightened it up and we matched them up to our new kind of beautiful, what we call our Oceania class, our Marina and Riviera. And as I said, when I came over from Crystal to Oceania, we were building these 2 ships. They were 60,000 tons, 1,200 guests, still considered incredibly small in the industry today. But the thing that really made the difference is they were just bigger in staterooms. There was never lines or crowds or anything, and that's part of the luxury industry, and that's part of what the magic of Oceania is all about, is the intimacy and the kind of, you know, attention to detail when you come on board the ship. And during the pandemic, we put these 2 ships in kind of behind the scenes, and we re-inspired them as well, so we could pull them up to the magic of what we are now calling the Allura class. And that's our Vista. That's our brand new ship that's coming out on April 23rd of 2023 next year. It's just a year away. So when I look at these beautiful surroundings, everything that you see in Oceania and all the ships are kind of these beautiful understated jewel tone staterooms, and beautifully appointed. In fact, in every single stateroom, no matter where you are on any of the ships, you've got a refrigerator, you've got binoculars, you've got umbrellas, you've got beautiful little blankets to sit on the couch, or your chaise outside on your veranda. You know, you've got all the things, you've Bulgari toiletries, everything, and everything is brand new, spanking new on every one of our ships. So they're really, really beautifully appointed, and they're done by Ralph Lauren Home. So I think you're going to really, really enjoy it. Plus frette sheets and beautiful frette towels and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of have all the attributes of this gorgeous luxury line. In fact, while we're building the Allura class ships, while the Vista is being built, we actually built solo staterooms for the very first time in our history. This ship is all veranda. So when we come out into our solo staterooms, we have maybe 5 or 10% of the ship that has its own French balcony. So in other words, you can't walk out onto them, but they're like a Romeo and Juliet balcony, or what you see on river ships, where you open your balcony door and there's a small kind of railing there. So you get all the fresh air and everything like that. But our single guest said, you know, we really want our own stateroom that's just built for 1 person. I don't want to have a stateroom built for 2. So those are the kinds of things we've moved with. And what I think about Oceania, I think about when I was so blown away from the very beginning of this cruise line, was the fact that not only were their destinations so wonderful, but when you walked on the ship, you felt like you're in someone's home. We have fireplaces. They don't work, but they're beautiful. You can go and sit in great big leather armchairs and ottomans and be in a library of a hand-painted ceiling, or, you know, 10,000 books surrounding you. You can go to beautiful lectures or TED-like talks and go to entertainment. We're a cruise line that doesn't make any announcements on board the ship. When we have to, it's just for whether it's embarkation or debarkation. But the fact is, we don't make any announcements. We decided to get rid of kids programs, but we love the kids that come on board the ship. We just don't have programs for them. So it becomes more of a quiet adult style kind of cruise line. Now, the other side of it is that when you come into any of the lounges on our ship, they're very beautifully appointed in the fact that they're all original artworks. We don't have art auctions on our ship. In fact, it's one of the tours that we have You can just take an audio box from the front desk and walk around and see $5 to $7 million of original artworks on each one of our ships, original Picassos and Murray sculptures and some of the priceless art that's sitting there. Absolutely gorgeous. And so we have this feel that you're in this grand manner in someone's home, and that's how we want our guests to feel. And each room is so beautifully done. So this is our grand lounge on the Vista. You can see by the artworks and the chandeliers and everything about it. It's absolutely going to be exquisite. And with only 1,200 guests, it still is considered very, very small in the industry today. Well, dining is a huge part of Oceania. On our small little regatta class ships, those 4 little ships I was telling you about, we have 4 dining rooms and we don't charge for any of them. And 2 or 3 of them take reservations, but again, they're complimentary to you. When it comes to Marina or Riviera, we have 6 dining rooms on board the ship. So you have a lot of choice right there. And on the Vista, we have 12 dining rooms, and it's going to be absolutely incredibly glorious. So you're going to see things like comfort food restaurants like Ember. This is open to the chef cooking, and that you'll come in here for short ribs and soft polenta, or you might come in for truffled macaroni and cheese with a piece of lobster, or something like that. You can on Oceania have fast service, slow service, whatever you like, because we're here for you. Now, Oceania has always been a non-touch service. It means to you that you've never been able to go into our terrace cafe or anything on the ship and touch a spoon and serve yourself. We've always handed it to you. So if you like something and you see it, we'll serve you. Someone comes with your tray, takes you out to this beautiful table in the terrace cafe or waves, bar, whatever it is, and you sit and watch the world go by. And each one of our ships has this beautiful, iconic terrace cafe, al fresco dining. So it's morning, noon, night. You can come up for dinner and have fresh grilled lobster or whatever you want there, because again, we're the cruise line for foodies. Our food is exquisite, but it's also fresh and regional. What our secret is, more than any other line in the world, is it's what we call we cook to a la minute. It means that when you order something, it's cooked for you at the moment that you order it. It isn't pre-prepared. So when we come into Alaska, for instance, we might have fresh halibut right off the ships. And so we'll cook it for you at your liking right there. Or we might be in Europe and have fresh branzino, or we might come into New Zealand and have fresh lamb, or whatever it is that is on the ship. We're always doing regional cuisine and teaching you, and our guests are curious, so they want to be able to have the variety that they have when they dine on board the ships. And of course, we don't charge to dine in any of our specialty restaurants. We do take reservations, but we don't charge you to dine in them. There's only one restaurant, and that's on the Marina and Riviera, called La Reserve. It's a wine pairing and a beautiful tasting menu. And it's about 2.5 hours to 3 hours of a dinner with 24 other people. And that's where we're doing Dom Perignon, vintage tastings, or bourgeois cooking with Jacques Pepin, things like that. So you'll see that. But those are the only 2 restaurants on the 2 ships that we have that is a charge, because we have wine pairing with it. So, things like the Terrace Cafe, things like the Polo Grill, our guests are curious, and part of our enrichment program is done in the culinary center. And so we were the first cruise line to build a culinary center for 24 guests. What goes in that center stays in that center. What I love about it is these are kind of optional for you. So they range from $69 right up to a couple of $100 each, or taking you off the ship into a chateau in France and doing a cooking class, that kind of stuff. But our culinary center is outstanding. See, it's all started with our guests said, we love your food on Oceania. We want to come home and cook some of that for ourselves. Lisa knows all about that, because Bill, her partner, is just a chef himself and loves that kind of stuff. So we had our own cookbook. We, brought our own cookbook out with Jacques Pepin, but we also then decided to make it so it was kind of this incredible feel on board the ship that you could just come on and enjoy whatever restaurants you wanted and whatever kind of cuisine you wanted. So it's crafted for you. And it means that if it's going out into the market with our chef, or making our own pastas, making our own ice creams, making our own breads. Every single dining room has different kind of bread features, and all the things that we do are just so incredibly amazing, even to the point that we've always had our kind of meat selection, if you will, and fish. But the fact is, we have vegetarian meals, we have special dietary needs. As long as we know before you get on board what your special dietary need is, we'll do it for you. If there's something you want and we don't have have it, we'll get it for you. But during the pandemic, we really decided that we wanted to have what we called our plant-based cuisine. That meant that not only was it just vegetarian, it was actually now vegan. And so we have our own galley, and you'll see our guests with their spaghetti, their spaghetti squash carbonara, or their Buddha bowls, or something like a green quinoa parfait. And so we have over 250 plant-based items for you. You see, it's all about the choice on board the ship with Oceania when it comes to food. It's not why you buy a cruise, as I said, but it's part of your experience in Oceania. And it's not all about food, because I want to tell you the other attributes of being on a beautiful small ship. And that is the things that we include, the enrichment side of it. But, let's just step back for 2 seconds, because I want to tell you all about the itineraries as well. One of the things that we decided as a company a couple of years ago was to get rid of 3 million plastic bottles of water. So we actually kind of enveloped a system that comes from the luxury hotels in Europe called Vera water. So they're stainless steel kind of bottles that you keep when you go home and stuff like that. Your coffees, your teas, your lattes, your London fogs, your Americanos or espressos with lemon twists, whatever it is that you want, it's complimentary. Our room service is complimentary. Our, anything non-alcoholic is complimentary on board the ship. And I'm going to tell you how Oceania layers value on top of each other as we keep going. We keep layering things, because our tagline at Oceania has always been your world, your way. So we want it to make sure it's a vacation that you have that's built around what you like. Instead of being all inclusive, we want it to be inclusive with things that you like. So I'm going to tell you about the O-Life choice you have. Internet, all complimentary. Our Aquamar Spa and Vitality Center is open to all of our guests. You can walk in here and sit under one of these beautiful little shades, or go into the thalassotherapy, area. Just sit on these gorgeous heated beds, or whatever you want to do. If you want what should I call it? A treatment like a facial or a massage or getting your hair done, whatever it is, that all you pay for. But it's unlimited access to our wellness center, and our classes are all complimentary. So it means that you can come and do a Pilates class, yoga class, abs class. We have about 10 different classes during the day. You can also work out on your own. Fitness is incredibly important to our Oceania guests. In fact, some of our gyms on board each ship, even the small ships, are larger than a lot of the big, large ships that you see sailing today. So fitness is huge with us, and we have a lot of instructors on board the ship teaching all sorts of classes, and we have short excursions built around that. So if you're kind of let's say a yoga freak, and you want to go and kind of do yoga off the ship, we have programs like in Bokram Island, just off of Dubrovnik, and where you can go to someone's home in their olive grove, an ancient olive grove, and do yoga there and have lunch at their house. So there's all sorts of things that we do. I'm going to tell you about that too. Room service, again, it's cooked a la minute. So if that means you wanted clams and linguine, all that kind of stuff, those clams are cooked right when you order it, and they're brought to your room. And so it's all white tablecloths and everything like that. It's an exquisite experience. So service is huge on board the ship. For every one of you, there's 1.5 of you, there's someone looking after you. So it means that there are no lineups, no crowds. Our staff kind of says, yes, what's the question? Yes is the answer, what's the question type of attitude. So, and it's something that every guest, when they come back from Oceania, they go, wow, the service on board that ship is so amazing. And so I know that you're going to feel very safe and very, kind of coddled when you're on board the ship. But again, it's for independent travelers, so no one's in your face. Well, our guests that sail with Oceania are always very curious kind of people. They love culture. They want new perspectives on life. So enrichment becomes a huge part of Oceania's kind of mainstay program. So we're small. We don't have huge, big entertainment. When I started with Oceania, the entertainment wasn't actually that great. I have to tell you that our entertainment is really good right now. And so we've really, during the pandemic, all the things in the background while we were as consumers kind of stuck at home, we've been working on our ships and some of our incredible programs. And we decided that enrichment was going to be big. And as you start to look and you start to see things come out in the next couple of months as we enter more of our, we've only got 3 ships in the water now, but we'll have 3 more in by the end of April. That you're going to see lots of things come out about our enrichment program. But let me give you just a quick example. We always come around the horn But this time in 2023, we're doing Antarctic with it. Now, this is a cruise by, and I have to tell you that when I first saw it, I thought, oh, I wonder if that's good enough. But my son, Ethan, who has now 7 years in the Antarctic as an expedition guide with an exploration company, I was showing him this itinerary. I said, what do you think about this itinerary? Do you like it? Well, we see a lot of wildlife and stuff like that. He goes, you're going to be absolutely fine. You're going into all the right places and you're there for 5 days, which is perfect. The greatest part of it is you have 5 cultural ambassadors who are helping you to understand about the Antarctic. So you're so lucky because Dr. Peter Carey is very well known in the Antarctic, and he's bringing on 4 other people with him. Now, this is just one cruise of Oceania's. We do this on every single cruise of ours. We have Enrichment speaker series. We also have an artist in residence on every single cruise of ours. So Jeff is our artist in residence when we come down through the Antarctic. So as an example, you might go to a show at night, but then during the day, you might want to see Enrichment series. They're all recorded. You can watch them in your stateroom as well, or while you're doing, if you want to do your own laundry in the laundrette and you want to watch the Enrichment, speaker, you can do that as well. But the fact is that when you see Oceania and its entertainment, we've got a beautiful 4-string quartet, we've got a small orchestra, we've got a jazz band, we've got music on the ship, we have a disco even at nighttime, we have some beautiful shows that happen once a night, every night, we have dancing, all that kind of stuff. But we also really are the arts as well. We're in for all of the arts. And so people come on and they come into our artist loft and they absolutely love it. So we have an artist in residence on every one of our cruises as well. So I've kind of given you a picture about Oceania and the ships. Now I really want to, in my last few, 15 minutes here, really tell you about some of the destinations we have, because this is where Expedia does such an amazing job of selling Oceania. And as Lisa said, we're great partners, and it's a really paramount relationship we have with each other. It's a real give and take. So they know how our product operates, and they know that when they kind of offer you Oceania, that they're offering you one of the best experiences in cruising out there on a small, beautiful little cruise line. So we curate our travel experiences. We go all over the world. If you can believe it, with 6 ships right now and almost 7, we circumnavigate Australia. Australia, by the way, has just opened up. So at the end of 2023, our sailings are already sold out for 2022 and early 23. But the fact is that for 2023, end of 23, all those itineraries will be out at the end of April. So you'll see that for March 4th, we'll have our circumnavigating right around the continent. I'm going to show you some of our itineraries in 23 here. We come into Africa right around on 2 different sailings. We come right around South America. I just showed you an itinerary. We come up through the Panama Canal from Peru all the way up to New York, and we stop in places like Ecuador, and then we stop in places like Panama City, places that a lot of ships don't go to these days. We do a little bit of Alaska. We do New England, Canada. We do Bermuda, we come up to Greenland, some of the most gorgeous fjords in the world with muskox kind of hanging off these craggy cliffs. And we do Iceland, right around the entire little island of Iceland. And then we come into Europe for almost 7 months of the year. And we start in the very top of that little gray blob of Svalbard into the North Cape, where the sun doesn't go down for 18 days. And we come all the way through by the end of the season in early November, way down into the Holy Land. So we go everywhere you can. And because we're small, we get to dock as if we're in someone's home, like someone's backyard. So when we come into Monte Carlo, we're right in the harbor with the yachts. So it's kind of cool. So I want to share a little bit about Europe with you. And then I also want to share about some of the other places we go in the world. This is a really beautiful itinerary. And this gives you an idea, everybody, of 2 sailings that were matched to go back to back. One is a 12-day cruise from basically Rome up to Barcelona. And then the other sailing is Barcelona all the way to London. So this is kind of one of my favorite cruises, because not only do you get the Med, and most Canadians really only ask for kind of Greek islands, France, Italy, they don't really ask about Spain. And yet Spain is probably one of my favorite countries in Europe, and definitely for Europeans, it's their #1 choice when they go to a vacation themselves. So this is gorgeous because it's historic, but it's also some of the most beautiful ports ever. You can see Saint-Tropez and places like Firenze, and coming into Tangier and going to Seville, and you know, Cadiz, where Christopher Columbus was from, and Saint-Malo, where Jacques Cartier was from, and going into Bordeaux for 2 full nights and sitting right at the city gates. We dock right close, so you can walk in. But another feature of Oceania is we offer complimentary shuttles in and out of 99% of the cities we go to. Now with Oceania, we include your air, your cruises, and your taxes. So that's just the basic package that the Expedia group will sell for you, because that's how we talk to you with all in. Out of Alberta, we actually have $130 each way tag. It's kind of an add-on, what we call an add-on fare. Free airs from Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal. Out of Calgary, Edmonton, actually Victoria, Calgary, Edmonton, and Ottawa, we charge $130 return each way, so 260 Canadian dollars. And we take you right from, let's say, Calgary or Edmonton, all the way on this cruise, for instance, from Barcelona all the way back to London and home back to Edmonton. So again, with the expertise of Expedia, they can extend on either side for you, whether you want 3 weeks on either side, which is kind of cool. So this is a beautiful, beautiful cruise. And if you've never done it, it's fantastic. And you know what we do with our little short excursions? Again, during the pandemic, we really kind of crafted some beautiful excursions. Some of them are just built for 12 or 14 or 16 guests. There's bicycle riding, there's walking tours. This is the El Camino Trail, the famous old St. James Path. And this is a 4-hour hike along this gorgeous cliff, and you know, incredible scenery. So there's things like that. If you want a coffee tour, we have that. If we have you know, environmental tours, you want to go see a wind turbine and how it's made, we have things like that that are coming out that you're going to love. We have over 3,500 different kinds of shore excursions for you, and they're built for smaller groups. Picnics in Bordeaux and chateaus, things like that. If you're an independent traveler and you don't want any kind of thing like that, you can take a picnic off the ship and go where you like, as you can take a shuttle in or a taxi, or we have a concierge on board who can do anything that you need. If it's golfing or something that you want, that's what it is. It's a luxury hotel that moves around the world in all sorts of beautiful ports. This is a beautiful cruise too, from London to New York. What I love about this, it's got a little bit of the British Isles, it's got gorgeous Ireland, and then you've got a little bit of France. You've got St. John's, Newfoundland, and then you've got Saint Pierre and Miquelon. I mean, hardly any cruise lines go to that beautiful piece of France right under Nova Scotia. And then we come into Bar Harbor and beautiful places like Boston and Newport, Rhode Island, and into New York. So gorgeous cruise, 18 days. Though that cruise is kind of built, I'm just giving you some of the highlights here, but that cruise is kind of built for people who really love a little bit of time at sea, because I was telling you that our specialty is very port intensive, curious kind of itineraries. Or you might just want to do a New England cruise on its own. Or you might say, well, I just want to keep going and go all the way down to Miami. So you can do that as well. Or maybe you kind of say, well, I want something different. I want to do the fjords of Norway. This is one of my all-time favorite vacations because, you know, I think after all these years, if it's one cruise, the sun really stays up in July. It's kind of in that northern side of the you know, Europe. And so when you come into Norway, you know, you're in these beautiful, craggy, gorgeous, huge fjords. And I love the fact that you're going in with a very small ship, and it's just truly a magical cruise. And if you get the chance to do that, then I would definitely do that. But our little short excursions might be like a little wandering to someone's home or a lighthouse or doing something like that. You'll see about 12 to 15 different short excursions on every single cruise. Now, in 2023, I'm showing you all of 23 because so much of 22 is already sold, but I want you to look at whatever you want, talk to your Expedia person, put a deposit down. You can always cancel it, but with a small ship, this is the #1 rule. If you see something you like, take it while you get it, because the heartbreak for this year and last year when people were booking was they said, oh, I just tried to book that beautiful North Cape cruise and I'm waitlisted. I'm number 15 on the wait list. I don't think it's going to clear. sometimes with small ship, people wait a little bit too long, but it's not a sales pitch, but like we have 600 beds or 1,200 beds. We don't have 5,000 beds. So our itineraries are so coveted that people want them. So if you see something you like it, book it, move it if you don't want it. So in 2023, this is another example of 20 days that we've hooked a 12-day cruise and a 10-day cruise, and we've added it to the Baltic. And that's going to be an incredible cruise. Going through the Kiel Canal is one of my favorite days in all of cruising. But again, going into Go Local tours. This is where we take local people who live in these cities and they take you behind the scenes. So when we're in Rome, for instance, they would take you into some of the neighborhoods you would never see as a typical guest off a cruise ship. Or you might be here in Norway and go into a home visit in the middle of one of the fjords. It's very cool. Or museum, you might be a museum person or a train person. And these are all the kinds of things we do. Pre and post packages, we do beautiful little shore excursions. Another sailing I love, this is from London to Reykjavik. Reykjavik's on top of everybody's bucket list. It's always has been in the last 5 years, and it still will continue to be. What I love about this itinerary is not only going to Scotland, but it's going to the Faroe Islands, everybody. It's going to Runavik, which I love, and it's going over the top of Iceland and down into Reykjavik. And if you want, there's sailings that continue on, excuse me, and go straight into Greenland. I'm only giving you very few highlights. We have a 300-page brochure with the 6 ships and what they're doing. In fact, it's got the Vista in it. Well, so 7 ships of all of 2023, and your Expedia person can get you everything. Greek Isles, big seller in out of Western Canada. Everybody wants the Greek Isles, and this is a beautiful, very port intensive itinerary in June of 2023 on our new ship. But going into places like UNESCO heritage sites like Limassol in Cyprus, beautiful city. And then Holy Land is another place on earth that has become, as a trend in the industry, this huge explosion for everybody wanting to see Israel. So I love this itinerary. I love, there's about 6 different kinds of itineraries, but where you can start in Jerusalem or end in Jerusalem, or Jerusalem can be part of your cruise on the middle side of it. So it just depends on the itinerary you want. But the one thing I love about it is we take you into places like Tel Aviv, the old Tel Aviv, which is Jaffa, and we take you through the eyes of our locals. And so you have lunch in homes and things like that. And so this is a cruise from Istanbul to Rome. This is where Israel is just sitting right in the middle of an itinerary. And I love this itinerary because nothing is as outstanding as kind of cruising from Istanbul and going into some of these holy, holy cities. So I love this itinerary as well. And again, all these things that you can add back to back to back make it really cool. So we've come into these beautiful ports of call, and here's our tiny little ship. This is the Nautica. And so this is one of 4 baby ships that I call them, and they are the sweetest ships. You get to know them in about 30 minutes. They're intimate, they're small, they're just gorgeous. And we take these ships in some of the most exotic areas. So really quickly, because I know I don't have a lot of time left, I just wanted to tell you about the other side of the world other than Europe. Out of Australia this next year in 2023, we've got some outstanding lineups. We've got the full circle of Australia, but we also have the East Coast here. This is from Sydney to Bali. So coming up through into Cairns and into Darwin and over to Bali, or we might take you in post or pre-packages in that gorgeous place in Indonesia. Or maybe you'll say, well, I want to go over the other side. I want to see some of the South Pacific Islands. I want to go for 33 days. And believe me, if you've done 10 days, you can easily do 14. If you've done 14, everyone at Expedia will agree. You can do 18. And if you've done 18, you can easily do 40. And if you've done 40, by the way, you can easily do a round the world cruise for 180 days. That's nothing. But this is a cruise that actually hits some of the most beautiful fjords. Again, Milford Sound in New Zealand, and coming up from Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, Samoa, going into Papeete. And again, everybody at Expedia can extend your stay either side of it there. So it's really fantastic. So, you know, again, really beautiful itineraries. Tahiti, 2.5 million square kilometers of France sitting right under Honolulu, deserted, gorgeous blue lagoons, overwater bungalows, Bora Bora. This is kind of these beautiful walks and hikes. And you think of very small ships, and this is where we take our small ship, the Regatta, and we do that. and everybody wants round trip Japan. So we have round trip Japan, we have Japan and with China and Southeast Asia, we have Hong Kong, we have Angkor Wat in Cambodia, we have Vietnam. We have some of the most beautiful 12 and 14-day cruises. And as we move along in this gorgeous city of Singapore, is a real starting and ending place for some of our cruises in Southeast Asia. What I love about this itinerary, everybody, is March of next year, excuse me, we're going into Marara, which is Brunei, and it's fantastic. And so you can tell I talk a lot, my voice. And then India. India is a huge draw for a lot of our guests. And so again, 14 days to 35 days, depending on what you want to do, going right through India. We've got some beautiful lineups. And really, lastly, I just want to tell you about 4 itineraries, and then I'm going to hit you with the value of Oceania, and then I'm going to stop talking. But what I do want to tell you is that on March 2nd, next week, we're launching the Around the World Cruise for 2024. Last January, a year ago, we launched our 2023 Around the World Cruise. And I have to tell you that in 24 hours, the whole thing was sold out. It was the first time in history that we couldn't even sell a segment. That was what pent-up demand was like. If you're interested at all in anything Around the World Cruise, we have recordings of our consumer event that we just did yesterday. But we also, and the Expedia team can get it for you, or you can take a look at the itinerary. It's online and everybody has the link for that. But it's 180 days. We're the longest kind of based cruise line that does Around the World cruises. And we have 7 other cruise suppliers that do that as well, cruise lines that do it. And they were all in the same boat last year. They all sold out within 24 hours. So I want to tell you that this is a spectacular cruise because, again, if you have 6 months and you have anywhere from $45,000 to $170,000 to spend, this is kind of a beautiful value for your buck. Everything's included, from gratuities to your visas to your medical issues, anything on board. But it's also an opportunity to see the world. And I think what I love about this, sailing is that it's so unique. What we're doing on March 2nd as well is that we have the kind of 3 other ships doing very long voyages. They're not 180 days, but they're 79 days to 88 days. So I want to just tell you, this one is from Papeete to Cape Town, all the way up through Australia and into India and over to the Seychelles and into Cape Town. We have a sailing from LA to Sydney. This is my most favorite of all the long cruises we have, only because we're all kind of coming from the West Coast anyway. But this is LA up to Oregon, into BC and beautiful Vancouver where I live, and then in Victoria and all the way up to Alaska, over to Russia, down through Japan, all the way through Southeast Asia and China, and all the way around the West Coast of Australia. And Broome, that beautiful little tiny town, is only about 3 blocks long, and it's the pearl capital of the world, and it's absolutely out of this world, a stunning itinerary, and that's 77 days. And they all go on sale next week. So talk to your Expedia person if you're interested. If you're interested in the United Arab Emirates, we've got this incredible cruise starting in Abu Dhabi and going all the way to Tokyo for 82 days, or you can chop it a little bit and miss out on the kind of Far East and start in Mumbai. So the choice is yours. Beautiful shore excursions and opportunities to go anywhere you want, whether it's small, whether it's wine tasting, whether it's yoga, whether it's whatever it is, we've got something for you. And finally, the value of Oceania is what I really want to end up with, because, as we talk and we give you the picture of all the things we're doing, and of course we go to so many more places and I can show you in 45 minutes. These are the things that really make a difference to people. These are the things that people say, that's kind of what I'm looking for. I don't need all my drinks included. I don't need all my shore excursions included. Yes, it's nice, but it's exhausting. And, and that's one of the things that we find when our guests come from the luxury lines onto Oceania, is that it's a reprieve from every day all in. It's kind of a chance that you get all this stuff. And as I said at the beginning, then we start to layer on top. So we took your air, your tax, your cruise. We added in all the other things I just showed you. But then we said, we want people to have your world your way, in a better way. And so we have our O-Life choice. That means that depending on the length of your cruise, that you have a choice whether you want shore excursions, included, or whether you want a beverage package. We all know that already soft drinks and everything are all included. So the beverage package means wine and beer at lunch or dinner. For $20 more a day, you can up that to a premium liquor package and drink all day long, whatever you want. And all our wines are done by wine spectators, so they're outstanding. Or if you're not a drinker, you're not a shore excursion person, you're someone like me who doesn't know what I want to do until I get on the ship, I'll take the shipboard credit. And I think that's really nice because you can use it any way you want. And it comes off the end of your bill at the end. So, you know, when you've got all this stuff, you've got transfers to and from airports, you've got your shuttles in and out of the cities, you've got all this stuff. Plus you have now you know, a choice of whether you want shore excursions or beverage package or shipboard credit. It's pretty fantastic. And they range anywhere from 4 shore excursions up to 72 shore excursions, depending on the length of your cruise. So you've got a lot of layering going on. And the final layer comes with Expedia, because they're such an amazing partner to us. They've got what they call their exclusive privileges. And that means that they've got over 90 sailings with us that have prepaid gratuities on them. For Canadians, that's a really big value. People love our gratuities. So we have gratuities put in that. And I can tell you that, as I said at the beginning, every single Expedia person in Alberta will phone me and say, what else can we do? So I want to tell you what we can do for you right now when we do an event like this, because we're kind of with our partnership of Wine Spectator. And by the way, we don't hold your wine coming back on the ship. You can bring your wine on the ship. You can bring any kind of liquor you want on the ship at all. But one of the things I was going to say is, if you book before at the end of next week, March 5th, you'll receive a complimentary wine bundle. That means that in addition to everything else, you're going to get 3 beautiful bottles of wine, red, white, and sparkling. And they're all from Wine Spectator, and you can interchange them whatever you want to do. But that's part of our offer for tonight, is that if you're interested and you like wine, then that's kind of great. So you've got everything that you need kind of included as an experience in Oceania. And now what I just want to tell you is that you've got a lot to look forward to. On May the 4th, you know, coming up in another couple of months, we're going to launch all of the end of 23 right through all of 24. We always, as a cruise line, kind of in 2 launches. One is Europe and the Americas, the other exotics and tropics, and we do them on opposite ends of the year. But on May 4th, we've decided to pull the entire year of 2024 out. This is something Expedia has been asking us for a long time to do, so you can see the full schedule all at once. So we're kind of excited. We've got Around the World with 4 grand voyages. We've got 2024. It's all coming to you. And finally, just want to tell you a couple of things about health and safety. You know, things change every day. I can tell you one thing: we have to pack our patience and we have to pack our flexibility. If it's 2 things that I have learned over the 40 years of being in this industry, things will change. The travel industry will change, and ports will open and close. And what we're seeing in Russia, Ukraine right now is going to create a whole lot of changes in the itineraries in short term, but in long term, we're all going to be fine again. If you're patient, and this is what happened just recently on our Around the World cruise for 2022. We left in early part of January with the Insignia, one of our tiny ships. And we started to sail into, you know, Hawaii. Well, Hawaii wasn't quite open, but they opened their doors for us. And then we were going over to Tahiti. And so all of a sudden, Tahiti was like unsure if they were going to stay open or close their doors to any travelers, not just cruise ships, but they stayed open for us. And we got there. And as we started to venture up to Japan, Japan closed its doors to all tourists. They've just reopened, by the way. But at that time, we had to make a decision as a cruise line. And so we turned around and we said to our guests, anyone can cancel, we'll go back and drop you off in Tahiti, and we'll fly you home, and you can have a full refund, whatever you want. Or you can stay with us, and we're going to go through the Panama Canal and change your itinerary a little bit and go over to Europe and spend much more time there. Well, do you know that everybody, I can tell you this is why the travel industry is so resilient. People just want to travel. They've been pent up for 2 years. We only lost 3 people who canceled and said, I really wanted to go to Asia, and I wanted to go further into the South Pacific, and we just couldn't. But the rest of the guests stayed. So every day things are changing. So pack your patience, pack your flexibility. When it comes to health and safety, like Lisa said at the very beginning, ships are the most safe vehicles you could ever travel on. The reason we got picked on at the very beginning was a whole bunch of reasons. as an industry, but part of it, we didn't know what the virus was. So Japan held a ship there, and it wasn't anybody's fault. But out of all of the 30 million people that traveled on cruise ships in 2019, 0.01% of them were infected with any kind of virus. So it's incredibly safe. But what we did is we already have these incredible protocols in place. What we did after that, during the pandemic, is we hired 6 scientists from all over the world, all different faculties, and we said, we need to know what we can do even better. We changed all our air filtration, so it's the freshest air you'll ever see. We did controlled guest capacity. We did non-touch service like we've always done. But we decided that we had socially responsible check-ins, everything. We added 64 new protocols. Now, things are changing every day. What I say today might change tomorrow. The best way you could actually learn about any health or sail safe with us is to go online at oceanacruises.com/health, and right at the top you'll see the frequently answered questions, and it gives you a full slew of information about sailing in Oceania and what we do. So, you know, a lot of guests like yourselves, they kind of ask really a little light questions about what the health and safety is, but most people who cruise know how incredibly safe it is. And as Lisa said, you know, they're selling so many holidays and cruises. And, you know, the other reason is about ships, by the way, is just that you can't track an airline or a hotel or a resort because there's too many people coming in and out every day. With ships, there's a certain amount of people, a certain amount of space, a certain amount of time. We're easy to track. And by the way, since I started in the industry with the Love Boat, we've, as cruise lines, have been reporting to the CDC. So it's pretty amazing. So that's how safe we really are. But the fact is that to come on board the ship, you have to be vaccinated. Our crew has to be vaccinated. Everybody is. And so we're going to keep as safe as we can wherever we are. And we've had 3 ships in the water, and we're about to enter the 4th very soon. In March, we'll enter the Sirena, and then the Regatta is also in March, and then the Nautica starts on April 1st in Rome. And each time we'll just make sure that those first 3 sailings are perfect before we kind of operate with a full capacity. So, and I think this year you'll see lots of changes too in different cities and ports, but it's going to be exciting. And so with that, I'm just going to say, remember what you love about travel. You know, I look at this picture, and I was in India when I was in my 20s, and I went by myself. No one wanted to go to India with me. And I went for 3 weeks and saw the Taj Mahal, and I felt like this woman. I felt like I wanted to just get back in my sari and have a look at this beautiful place on earth. And so whether you've been in Alaska, or whether you've been in Italy or France, or just, you know, Toronto or Newfoundland, you know, remember what you love about travel, because it is a perfect vacation. And because we haven't been able to do this for the last 2 years, we've got the whole world in front of us. Just remember that if you're going to book something on a small ship, book what you want when you see it, and then everything else can move from there. And I just want to thank you all so much, because it is actually almost an hour, and I'm so sorry, Lisa. I've been chatting so much. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and give it back to you, but everybody come and join us, and make sure you come back to Oceania. We'd love to have you on board our ship. And with that, I'll stop sharing here. So.
Kathy, I have to say, I could listen to you for hours and hours, and you talk about your beautiful ships, your beautiful itineraries, and truly, I think everybody absolutely loved it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I do want to tell you that I have been so disappointed so many times when I've had a client call and say, I want to book this for 2022 or 2023. And yes, it is sold out. So on that note, are there still some sailings that do have some space this year?
Yes, absolutely. There's some beautiful sailings in Europe. I'm hoping to get on one of them. I want to do the British Isles, actually. It's sold out right now, but I think there's going to be changes, Lisa. And I think that's part of the flexibility, is that if you see something and it is waitlisted, keep on a wait list, do a priority wait list. But yet there's lots of space on certain different areas. So, you know, I can send you kind of a list for you. We just had a sale that ended this week, but we've got lots of stuff that you can offer. So whether it's close to home in Canada and New England, whether it's Alaska, whether it's Bermuda, we've got some beautiful Panama Canal sailings, Caribbean. We don't do much of Caribbean, but we have a little bit. So have a look at that.
Okay, perfect. A question about the deposit. What is the deposit required, and are the deposits refundable?
Yes, they are. It depends. So you don't want to have a deposit and then you're starting to get into final payment and you lose it. You know, there are restrictions on all deposits, as you know, and final payments. But yes, they're refundable. Number two, it's 750 or it's 1,000 Canadian, 750 US for a deposit on Oceania. On the around the world, it's 20% of your fare, fully refundable. So it's a little bit longer because it's 180 days versus usually your 14 days. And so, yeah, no, it's great.
All right, thank you. Question from Neil. One-way cruises that start in one port and end in another, airfare is still included?
Yes, and Neil, by the way, thank you for asking that, because most of our cruises, as you'll start to look at, are very rarely round trip anywhere. They're usually one port ending in another. So we always, again, like on that London to Reykjavik, we would fly you from Edmonton to London. You might want to stay there for a couple of days or a week or whatever you want to do. And then we cruise all the way to Reykjavik and we fly you home from Reykjavik. So that's a great question, but yeah, your air is included on everything we talk about, and it's full economy, the most nonstop direct flight to wherever you're going. So we very rarely charter.
Okay, and while we're on that, do you offer the option to upgrade to premium economy?
Yes, we do. Absolutely great question. Yeah, that and business class. And by the way, a lot of how Expedia Alberta sells is people say, well, I want to use my points, so they can do that. You can take the air out of your cruise fare and you get an air credit, and it's pretty chunky. You know, it's a chunk of money there. So if you want to do your own air, you're welcome to do that too. Just make sure that you get to the ship on time, because we will not wait for you. That's the only problem I will tell you.
And that's another thing, working with your Expedia Cruises consultant, you know, let us know if you have points, if you have particular routing that you want, whatever, we will find the best, whether it's doing the air with the cruise line or doing the air credit.
Absolutely.
Question on a world cruise going to Africa and South America?
The world, yes, we are on tips of the North tips. We're saving the southern tips for other different, like longer cruises that we have during the year, but they're not part of the 2024 around the world. They were for 2023. But we're not doing full circumnavigations around for the world cruise.
All right, thanks, Kath. You talked about the Vista and solo cabins. What about solo travelers on other ships in the fleet?
Holy cats, who's planting these questions? I love them.
I'm telling you.
I know, they're really, you guys are really, really good. Okay, so these solo staterooms, there aren't any on the other ships, but we get about 40 single guests on each one of our sailings. And don't freak out when I tell you this, but it's 200% of the fare. And before you kind of look and go, wow, I have to pay double, don't forget that it's based on two people, and there's things that we pull out to make it less expensive for you because you're single. Like we pull the air out, we pull the taxes and everything of that second person out. One thing that you're so good at, Lisa, and the whole crowd at Expedia, is that, you know, because we're a small company, I always suggest ask your advisor, can I do any better on a single rate? Because with us, I'm not a big company. We're a small company. We can make a decision and a turnaround. If we need help on a sailing and we can get you a lesser, you know, price than 200%, I will always fight for it. And everybody at Expedia knows that. So, you know, not to say that I'm going to get that luck at 100% of the time. Sometimes it works. Sometimes the door is closed in my face, but I'll always ask. But, you know, 200%, you know, we have singles who pay, you know, on a cruise that's usually around 6,000 per person, maybe 10,000 Canadian, but they'll go for, you know, almost 20 days. So, you know, it all depends on the sailing. It all depends on what we can find for you.
Don't ask, you don't get. So
yep, absolutely.
Perfect. One last question. You made a comment about vaccines. Is there a ruling for boosters to get onto Oceania at this point?
Really good question. No, we have not made that decision yet. Right now, we only require the double vaccine. So we haven't made a decision on the booster. I know other cruise lines have, we have not. So right now, you're fine with 2. And by the way, we will provide the test whether it's, well, we don't need PCRs anymore, do we, coming into Canada? Yay, 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 yay. But we would have provided a PCR right now coming back into Canada, but we'll provide a rapid antigen test for you as well on your debark.
Excellent, excellent. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions we have. For everybody, travel really is starting, and it really is time to think about if you're dying to get away 2022, we can definitely find something for you. Plan for 2023. I love the fact that 2024 is opening up in the next few months.
Very exciting.
And I will tell you that people are planning. We have so much to make up for. We've lost 2 years. The pent-up demand is absolutely crazy. So I want to thank all of you for joining us. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your past travels with us. We look forward to any of your future travels. Please contact your consultant if you have any questions. We want to be here to help you plan your next vacation. Remember to follow us on Facebook and also check out our YouTube channels where this and all our other travel talks are recorded. But thank you, everyone. We really look forward to helping you make your dream vacations come true. Please contact us. We're back in our offices. Some of us are still working from home, but we're available via phone, via email, and let us help you plan your next dream vacation. Have a wonderful evening and hope to see you on March the 10th.
And come over to Oceania. Thanks,
Absolutely.
you guys. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you for having me.